I now have the Mercedes CLK GTR, and I think before we get on with doing the Imperial Palace tournament, I figured it was worth it for me to get some practice in this thing, so that's what I'm going to do. So, going to check to see that I've got the nitrous on. Yes, I do. And now, let's pump this thing up, since I already know precisely what my plan is going to be. And manufacturers, and let's have a look. Oh, is that it? Okay. Well, I think it's pretty obvious to say which one I'll be going for. Yeah, I'll just put this on. And as for the style, I'll go blue on one side, and I'll go green on this side. Okay. And license plate, I'll keep that the same. Let's now put on some decals. As I'll put on... Let's go with... Yeah, let's go Pirelli on the front, and on the rear we'll go Mercedes. Or AMG. Yeah. Okay, now we move on to the side. Okay. Isn't it slot 6 where the big sponsor is? Oh, okay. Well, I'm gonna put Pirelli on here, just so it doesn't occupy the livery space in any way. And up here, I will go with... Sure, let's do Eton. And... down here... You know what, yeah, let's do Jackson. And... okay, nope. I won't fiddle about with that. Okay, I think that's everything. Yeah, I think that should do it. So, let's now put on some badges. Dub on the side, and dub on the rear, because I'm cool like that. And now... I don't really think there's anything else we need to do. I'll probably make a few more changes as we go further along with this, but I think I've wasted enough of your time now customizing this thing for now, so let's actually go racing and do another 5 races.
Now that is a proper ride.
Tomoya, if this wasn't a proper ride, I wouldn't be driving it right now. Nor would I be driving a car that basically won all but one race in the 1998 FIA GT Championship, which is kind of a successor to the World Sports Car Championship, or was. But nonetheless, I'm hopeful in saying this car will deliver. I mean, it is just a matter of me getting used to the mega speeds I know this car will produce. I am going to physically shoot myself in the limbs if I don't get this fucking car tamed somehow. Fuck me. This car is fucking quick. It's basically fighter jet levels of fucking quick. Because it honestly felt like I could barely hold on to this thing down some of these straightaways, and in some cases, because it was literally so fucking fast, it practically caused me to overreact more than once. And that is basically just how goddamn fast this car really is. I'm not doing another unordered race in this thing again. Please, no.
You must be rolling in money, friend.
Well, I was before I spent it all on this thing. But yeah, there is no fucking way I am doing another ordered race in this. Another unordered race in this thing. No way. It's practically like I'm just driving straight into a black mist. And I feel like it's gonna catch me at any moment. But still, at least I know how fast this thing can go. And I have also given myself a few minutes to literally just calm the fuck down. Because that first race was hell. Especially if you consider just how fast I was going. It honestly did feel like in some areas I was doing nearly 300. That's just how fast it felt. So basically going beyond the speedometer, as well as the tachometer. That's just how goddamn fast, and almost unstable even, I felt in this thing. Although fortunately, however, I am not driving the acrobatic CLR. Huh, and the game decides to throw a glitch at me. And I'm up against Aprilia's, I think. Anyway, let's go. Fuck me. Why did I even want to choose this car? It's pretty obvious to say that I have literally chosen what is almost an untamable beast. That's basically how it feels right now. As in, the whole thing regarding just what I think this car has now made me. It's basically shaped me to the point of where I'm basically just saying to myself, do you even want to race this car anymore? Because it basically wants to murder you almost every single time. And that's kind of what it's doing to me. This car basically is trying to murder me. And I have no doubts in saying that I am feeling extraordinary amounts of discomfort with this choice. Like the whole thing just really doesn't matter over what I learned before. This thing just feels too unstable for me to tame. And I don't know if this is really going to be the car I want to use anymore.
Alright, friend, don't be getting no big head now. Keep your feet on the ground.
Says the same guy who said the first time I finished runner-up in this race, literally said to me that was humiliating. He did actually say that. I do have it on playback as well, but doesn't matter. Doesn't deserve to be shown. Fucking hell. I really don't know if I can drive this thing, in all honesty. This thing, it just does not feel stable enough for me to tame. I don't feel confident enough to use this thing for the last tournament. I really don't. I really feel like it's just not gonna work for me. Because I've already overreacted to this thing twice, and because every time I've basically tried to floor it with this thing, it's basically given me a stabbing. You know what? I'll do one more. I'll do one more with this thing, and then I'll switch back to the McLaren. I just cannot feel confident enough to tame this thing. Or I can just switch over to one of my other cars. Actually, on second thoughts, I might consider using the Kawasaki for the Imperial Palace tournament. I mean, there is nothing that there's nothing that says I can't use a bike to end off the game. So I might consider it. As I go straight into a pillar. And there are only 3 of us in this race. This thing is a literal bat out of hell is what it is. It's basically a bat out of hell that's just saying... That's literally just saying to me... That's basically just saying to me, wow, you are a great driver, and now prepare to die. That's kind of what this car has basically put me through. And I'm not feeling confident enough to use this thing. The stability just doesn't seem to be there for me. As much as I am really, really, really trying to just get something under my belt. It's basically just causing me to overreact because of just how petrifying it is to drive this thing. I'm actually scared to death with this thing. And it does not happen very often where I'm actually petrified from driving a car at these speeds. Unless I know something is definitely up. And I think that's kind of what the case is with this car, because I just cannot seem to grasp any ulterior motives to use it. It's just not there. Because of just how incensed but scared this car is making me. Like I'm actually scared to death to physically drive it. And because of how dismal my efforts have been up to this point, that kind of proves it. Because you cannot say up to this point that my efforts have not been dismal, because they have. But I somehow won in the end regardless. Okay. There is no way I can fucking drive this thing for the Imperial Palace tournament. No fucking way am I taking that risk anymore. Because this thing is too mental even for me to drive. I just cannot withstand this thing anymore. I'm gonna switch cars, and I'm gonna switch cars now. I don't feel confident enough to use this car anymore. Because it's tried to murder me more than once now, and it's basically gonna continue to do so unless I change cars. So you know what? I'm gonna do what I should have done. I'm actually gonna sell this thing because it's actually... I'm actually gonna sell this thing because I just don't have enough confidence to say that this car can stay with me. It just isn't there. So you know what? I'm just gonna get rid of it and get my money back. I'm gonna switch over. Let's switch over to the, let me think. Let's go with... Let's go with... Yeah, I'll go with the Cadillac. Why not? I think I might actually be better if I go with the Cadillac for this one. Just because I want a car that I can physically tame. And well, I basically decided to sell my Mercedes.
That is an exotic, okay?
Just because the car literally scared me to death. As in, I was actually petrified to drive it. Knowing that I just had so much power and yet so little control. I just had no confidence to say I could drive it. And that's why I chose the Cadillac instead. Because at least this is a car I can drive. So basically, I had a Mercedes for a few races, and then basically I decided to sell it because, well, it was literally scaring me to death. And it basically petrified me. As in, I was actually terrified to drive it. Because it was just so fast. And yet, so little could actually control it. I really was on the edge of controlling the car as well as myself. But this, however, feels better because I actually have more stability in the car and I can predict which direction to head this time. So basically, if you choose the Mercedes CLK GTR, then please be aware the car will try to kill you. Because that's basically what it did with me. So what I've learned is, don't buy the Mercedes CLK GTR. The car itself is practically unstable at high speeds, and you can barely control it. Because the car just feels so light. And because, well, the car basically just hated me. I'm not saying I hate the car, I'm just saying the car hated me. And it's fair to say that I am definitely not driving that car again. Because it was actually insane to think that I could tame it, knowing what I know now. It was basically mad power given to the hand of a 23-year-old computer gaming Nimrod. Which is basically what I am. And also someone who has university credentials as well, I might add. Well, a computer gaming Nimrod who also happens to be a university student. But yeah, I am not driving that Mercedes again. No way. Anyway, those are your race results, and I can definitely say this felt way better than what the other car felt. So Baby T second, Haruna third, and Yuta finished in fourth.
Wicked.
So, in terms of what I have learned from this today, rule number 1, don't buy the Mercedes CLK GTR, unless you want a car that will physically and mentally murder you. Don't buy the Mercedes CLK GTR unless you feel skilled enough to actually control it. Because, God knows for sure, I certainly don't. And I think that was proven to me very clearly. And if you're really wanting to make it easier for yourself, then well, just use a concept car. That's basically what I chose with the Cadillac CN. I figured this car was more or less gonna be an infinitely better choice. The Mercedes, well, it's almost a waste of money. If you're talking in terms of drag racing, then yeah, the Mercedes basically is the car to use, but if you're talking just in the genuine terms of actually wanting to control the car, then basically you should do what I did and keep a hold of the Cadillac CN, because this car, it will treat you a lot better as a driver, and it will give you the power to control, because it's a bit more stable. May not be the fastest car you can use, but it is at least a stable car, and that's the only thing I really care about. Knowing with full clarity and assurance that this car will treat you well, without completely slaughtering you. That's what I now know. Okay, I think this replay has gone on long enough now. So, I think that's now 4 races we've done up to this point. So, let's do one more. Huh. It actually stopped me up on the freeway. That's actually pretty funny. Anyway, I'll do one more race. So basically, like I said before, if you want my advice on buying a very expensive exotic like the Mercedes CLK GTR, yes, you can buy it with enough money, but if you don't feel committed or strong enough to tame a car with so much power and so little stability, then basically don't even use it, is what I'm saying. You can buy it if you want, but for the love of God and everything sacred, please be sure you can tame it. Because if you don't feel like you can tame it, the CLK GTR, it will punish you, and punish you immensely, if you do not have the stability to go out and prove that you're strong enough to tame it. The car will basically bite like a king cobra. And it will basically poison you. it will basically poison you about as much. It will basically poison you about as much as if you touch a dart frog. That is just how poisonous I think the CLK GTR really is. Unless you actually feel confident enough to say the car will not murder you. You know what? I might actually consider using the Cadillac for the upcoming tournament, because I have a lot more experience with this thing, and I also feel like the car itself can physically be tamed. Unlike the fucking CLK GTR. I'm still getting over the fact of how in race 1 I just almost put myself on the edge of how I literally put myself on the edge of control.
Yeah, friend. Now that's what I'm talking about.
Huh. So Tomoya has actually changed his mind about me. That's nice. Okay. I think that's everything now. And I can certainly guarantee I'm not using the Mercedes CLK GTR again. Especially after what happened in those first 3 races where I was on the literal edge of control. And it almost felt like I was going to fall off a cliff. Almost every single time. It felt like I was just going to collapse in a rock slide. But it's okay. It's over now. And the only thing that really matters to me is basically entering this thing in the upcoming tournament, which I will be doing. But before we get on with that, I want to change the livery of this thing. Well, the vinyl of this thing. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the second one. I reckon that's probably a better choice for me. And I will make this... yeah, let's make it white. And I'll figure out my changes as I go along after this. Okay, anyway. So, what I've learned from this episode is, unless you are a real professional in the street racing game scene who knows how to tame absolute bats out of hell like the Mercedes CLK GTR, my advice is, unless you actually are good enough to tame it, then my simple advice is, don't even buy it. You'll basically just be asking yourself to buy a car that is well and truly nefarious. Anyway, we're done now. So, let's now move on to the Imperial Palace tournament, and where I will be taking a break before getting on with this for a few minutes. Anyways, yeah. Imperial Palace tournament is where we will end.